So we think of digestion starting maybe in the mouth or maybe in the stomach, but it actually starts in the brain. When you think a negative thought, your body can't distinguish between I'm being chased by a bear and I'm going to miss my deadlines, or I'm not good enough. I'm never going to heal. My body's broken. We're actually physiologically giving our body signals. Going to say, okay, stomach, stop producing acid as much because we don't need that right now. We're being chased by a bear. Pancreas, it's not time to release those enzymes because, again, we're being chased by a bear. We're seeing this actual physiological response from this negative thought.
Hey there, I'm Bria, and welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. If you're over 35 and ready for real answers about your hormones, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and stay with us. Hey there, sisters. Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast. Today's episode is one of those conversations that I think has the potential to completely shift how you understand your body, because we're diving into something that is often overlooked, but really not even quietly impacting, I think significantly impacting everything from your digestion, your hormones, your energy, even your ability to heal. So if you have ever felt like you're doing all the right things, and I know most of you do, eating well, working out, taking your supplements, and still not feeling like yourself, this episode I think is going to connect some very powerful dots for you. I'm joined today by Dr. Meg Mill. She's a doctor of clinical pharmacy, a certified functional medicine practitioner, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and the founder of Women's Functional Health Institute, where she actually trains and certifies practitioners in women's health. She's also the host of a podcast, A Little Bit Healthier, and the creator of what she calls the 7-second switch, a science-backed approach that helps restore the connection between your thoughts, your digestion, and your hormones. And what I love about her work is this. She doesn't just talk about mindset in a surface level way. She actually shows you how your thoughts are creating real measurable changes in your body in real time. So in today's conversation, we're unpacking what that actually looks like if you're like, what? How this shows up in midlife, and most importantly, where you can start doing things differently so your body starts working with you again. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Dr. Meg Mill.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I'm very excited about this conversation and kind of better understanding some of these concepts that you teach and even teach practitioners. So I always love to start here because it brings, I think, everything together for those of us listening. Can you share a little bit about what was happening in your health or your life that led you to discover this kind of deeper connection between thoughts, digestion, and hormones, maybe even beyond what you were originally trained in?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I have a complete shift. So it is. The story is the shift because I started out as a clinical pharmacist. So I went through, got my doctorate, did a residency, was practicing as a clinical pharmacist. And so, I was in that world. And at the same time, I was starting to have a lot of health issues myself. And here I am like in my 20s, I was young. And so I got all the like, you're a picture of health, everything, everything looks perfect. And so I had been to 5 different gastroenterologists. So I was like, I'm in the health field. I'm a seeker. And I was like, there is something wrong with me and I can't get to the bottom of it. So I'm like going around to say like, this person's going to give me answers. This person's going to give me answers to see if someone will finally listen and, tell me something, because what I felt wasn't normal. Like, what I mean? Even though you're like, you look normal, everything looks good. It's like, I'm not, I was having stomach pains all the time, irregular bowel movements, all, I didn't even know when it was so sporadic, like I didn't even know what I could eat, what was going to hit me, what wasn't. So I started to, look for answers and was getting none. And so that's actually what like actually brought my journey into functional medicine, because I was like, okay, I have to take this into my own hands. I'm not getting any answers from any of these like, well-named specialists, and I had access to good doctors, but it was like, okay, when you're going in there, you're telling them all the symptoms, like, oh yeah, you could just take an antidepressant. You're not getting anything, like they're just pawning you off of like, we don't know what to do with you. So, um, that brought me into functional medicine. So I started doing a lot of research and what's going on, and that's where I found the microbiome. And
Yeah.
and this was a long time ago too. So it was like all of this research was newer in some ways, that we've learned so much over the past 20 years
Yeah.
of everything in this space. So that's where I got into functional medicine. So in my own journey, I was also doing work on so the gut health issues actually led me into anxiety. So, we'll talk about gut brain
Yeah.
and some of those, but I was starting to get a lot of anxiety in some ways also because of my health and what I was feeling and not getting any answers. And so I started personally doing a lot of different techniques, and what we can talk about some of these and how they're connected, but I was doing those myself. And I also studied functional medicine, and then I also went on and got certified, and I also put both together, not knowing in some ways that I was doing these and how impactful, like, both lanes were. So
Yeah.
it's like you're thinking like, "Okay, yeah, now I've found functional medicine, found root causes, I'm finding all of these, root causes." So I started feeling better, I had a huge health transformation, and I wanted to share this. So I opened a virtual functional medicine practice,
Huh.
and I started seeing women all over the world, which, hundreds of people came, and what I saw happen is that a lot of people were getting better. So we were starting to see, okay, yeah, we're putting the functional medicine principles in place. We're, healing the gut. We're balancing hormones. We're doing all of this. But some people just were stuck. And so
Mm.
it was like, okay, we're seeing this shift of like, okay, people were making progress, but we're not seeing everyone make progress. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then I started adding some of my own things that I was doing as far as the mind. Some of these tips I'll share with you, and challenging your thoughts and the mindset. And that's what made me realize this is the missing piece. This is what everyone is missing to actually make everything else we do work better.
I love that. So that was sort of the moment where you're like, "Oh, this is actually connected together. It's not just root cause, but then it's this connection as well between kind of that mindset, even like our nervous system, I guess we might call it, and just how we're feeling."
Exactly. So, and that's the thing. So when we're looking at it from, your thoughts are giving your body message. Do you want me to get into the physiology?
Yeah, because I totally agree with you. I mean, I've seen it in my own practice where, you're right, as you say, we start with the kind of we get into where the root cause is, we start with these functional foundations, but and for some people, that's it. Like, it just kinda takes off, and for others, there is this other piece that really needs to be addressed. So, yeah, let's talk about kind of what's happening in our mind. Let's talk about how that impacts us in real time.
Yeah. So we are because I think there is a disconnect. I think there is somewhat of people saying like, there's the mindset, the spirituality world, the meditation world, the thought reframing, and then there's the functional medicine world where it's like, yeah, we're saying, okay, root cause, we supplements, diet, testing, all of that. And so whenever we have a thought, it's actually giving our body signals. When you go into the research, it's really interesting because we've known this for over 100 years. So, do you know Pavlov, like Pavlov's
Yes, of
dog?
course. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Everyone's like, "Oh, conditioned response, the bell, the dogs," but he actually was studying digestion, which he actually won the Nobel Prize for the physiology of digestion, which I think many people don't know, which is interesting.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah, so
crazy.
so that's actually what he studied. So I think it's like funny what came out of it and when you get into the research of what he was actually studying. So when we call it in science the cephalic phase of digestion. And so when you are, your body starts digesting before we even get food in our stomach. So we think of digestion, sorry, maybe in the mouth or maybe in the stomach, but it actually starts in the brain. And so when we're in like the nerve, and we'll kind of, then I'll take another step back here and talk about the different nervous systems. So,
Yeah.
we have the autonomic nervous system, and your autonomic nervous system is what controls the automatic functions in your body. So, like your digestion, your breath, your heart rate, things you're not consciously thinking about.
Yeah.
And so the autonomic nervous system has different branches, and we want to be in the rest and digest most of the time. And that's where everything happens as it should be. But the problem is that a lot of us are living in the sympathetic nervous system a lot of the time based on our thoughts that we think. So when you think a negative thought, your body can't distinguish between I'm being chased by a bear and I'm going to miss my deadline for, my work, or I'm going to be late to drop my kids off, and or those things are putting us in, or really let's dig deeper into like I'm not good enough, I'm never going to heal, my body's broken. Those are really those deep core thoughts that we can
Yeah.
talk about. But when we're in those, we're actually physiologically giving our body signals. So we think of that like, oh, okay, yeah, we're having negative thoughts, but we're saying, okay, now we're in the sympathetic nervous system. And so when we're in the sympathetic nervous system, we're going to say, okay, stomach, stop producing acid as much because we don't need that right now. We're being chased by a bear.
Yeah.
Pancreas, it's not time to release those enzymes because, again, we're being chased by a bear. Gallbladder, the bile, not a good time. We have what we call migrating motor complex that helps with motility and cleaning out the digestive system. That slows down. Blood diverts away from the gut. So we're seeing this actual physiological response from this negative thought.
Right.
And I think it goes deeper because when you can't, and this is what like people, when we're thinking in this, functional medicine world, if anything though in health, really, if you can't digest and absorb the nutrients that you are getting from your food, you could eat a beautiful diet. You may have, protein rich salads every day that you're getting variety of nutrients and you have your protein and you're meeting all your goals and all of that. But if you're not digesting and absorbing them,
Yeah.
you're not getting the nutrients you need. So we're missing nutrients. We're not able to have the nutrients we need for hormones. All of these other functions start because of a thought. And I think that
Mm.
that really, if you look at the documented science behind it, the people would be surprised that this downstream effect is happening from what's going on in your mind, not just all of these other things.
I love that you connected that, and I think, like, especially for the women we're talking to today who are kind of in midlife, who've got hormones shifting, I think what you said is super relevant in also, while it's telling the gallbladder and the pancreas and, that we don't need these things, it's also telling the ovaries, "Okay, well, we don't need to deal with reproduction right now." And as our hormones, shift, we have less of a buffer, I think, against the impact maybe of the thoughts that come. Does that sound accurate? Like, so we slip into this sympathetic nervous system much more quickly and maybe more intensely?
Absolutely. We do lose that buffer. And, then, and how we're just so connected. So
Mm.
even things like when we're going back to it, often we'll lose progesterone first.
Yeah.
So when you're going through perimenopause, progesterone will decline often. Well, one, you're going to have the wild fluctuations of estrogen that we're all dealing with. And then you also have a decline often in progesterone before the estrogen. Well, progesterone is our calming hormone. If you think of estrogen put on the gas, kind of that excitatory, I'm sure you talk about this all the time, but like progesterone put on the brakes and calm things down. And it's also GABA promoting. So GABA is our calming neurotransmitter. So then we have a little bit more, hey, we have more progesterone, we're having more GABA, we're feeling like kind of calmer in the situation. Well, when you lose that balance and you have this kind of dysregulation there, it plays into, okay, now my stress is up, my thoughts can get faster, my stress level is up. And one of the things, so and kind of another thing with what we're talking about here is one of the things that I experienced working with like hundreds of women was that a lot of times women are being told that, okay, they know they need to do this, right? It's like, okay, I need to calm my body. I know I need to be mindful. I need to try to get my body back in the parasympathetic nervous system. And we have savvy listeners here.
Yeah.
But what I saw with so many people is that they were saying, well, someone maybe had said like, okay, you need to meditate, you need to journal, you need to do, and then they get this list, all of these things that they need to do. And they're like, but my life is so stressful. I can't do all of those things. Or like, but my ex-husband, is trying to take my, kids, and I don't want them to be there, and and what am I gonna do in this situation? And so they saying like, okay, I can meditate and I can, or maybe they can't even meditate, right? Because your thoughts are just going through your head. You can't even get to that place. Or you can do some of these things, but you're then, well, when I'm back in my life, my stress is just right back through the roof,
Yeah.
and there's nothing I can do about it. And so that's where I started like thinking, when I thought, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm creating new thought patterns, and started researching where you can do these things right in the moment. So we're saying, okay, what do we have? You can't change your external. Sometimes you can, but a lot of times, like, you can't change the people around you. You
Mm.
can't always change the situation. And I think I got so many questions of, well, like, what do I do in the situation I can't change? Journaling or going for a walk in nature, or, all the things aren't, I'm not able to sustain that in my life. So there's a concept in neuroscience called neuroplasticity, and that means that your brain is constantly changing. So it's not fixed. It's actually will rewire based on our thoughts, which is really neat when you
Yeah.
think about the fact that our brain physiologically changes, right?
Yeah.
When you're
I mean, and it means opportunity, I think, when we
It
hear
does.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not stuck. But like, the problem with that is that I like to explain kind of like when you think a thought, it's like you're paving the road. You're kind of getting like the path, and then it's like, okay, now it becomes a road. Now it becomes a highway. And then you start to have these highways of these thought patterns that your brain actually wants. It's more comfortable to
Mm.
stay in that pattern. Even if that pattern isn't good for you, even if it's not serving you, it's like, "Oh, wait, this is the highway that I've built." So, I've built, like, this highway for a long time
Yeah.
of this thought, and so we actually need to just change it, and it feels weird because your brain's like, "Oh, wait, but that's more comfortable, but we need to create a new path that becomes a new road, becomes a new highway," and then your body, the old thought that was causing all of these stress responses becomes less powerful, and we can actually because it's actually our body's responding to perception. It's so interesting whenever you think like, yeah, you're responding to your perception of the situation,
Yeah.
not the actual situation
Yeah,
that, too.
and what again, like, I think I love what you'd said about the hormones, like, with how, as our progesterone drops, like, I can even feel for me, I'm in those, like, few precarious days before my cycle kicks in, so even just hearing you talk about all the things that we do as women and how busy in life, it's like I can almost feel it build inside of me not having that buffer. So we have these women who are listening right now that have, you know, 2, 3, 4 kids that might be going off to college like we were talking about before this, yeah, that are getting ready for summer.
Dying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have
back it up.
parent teacher gifts to purchase, have, all of these things to do, summer camps to organize or whatever they're doing on top of kind of their goals and to-do list. And what you're helping us recognize is that the state of our mind and how we perceive things is absolutely impacting every part of our digestion, every part of our health inside of our body. And
It
so to change that, we need to start to understand that we've made these highways in our brain and start to maybe craft exit strategies.
Sadly, and the good thing is about this, what I love about, what we're talking about is, again, I when you're saying all of this, I feel that overwhelm of all the women that we're talking about. And I actually just wrote a podcast episode on we're there's actually a study. I'm been talking about a lot of data today, but there's actually another study that we're almost making our bodies like projects. Again, like, we are all listening, thinking, okay, what can I do? What are the things that I need to do?
Yeah.
And we're building like, okay, now I have all those things you said, and I have to get all these other things in, or I'm not going to be fixed in some way, right? If we don't get our nutrients and we don't get our wellness routine, our morning ritual, or
Yeah.
whatever, all those
Sunlight, our walk,
all
our protein. Yeah. All these.
exactly, all of it. So now that all builds up on us too. And so it's like another mark that we have to hit because, okay, now I have to hit this level too. And so where we're saying is like, okay, no, we don't have to do another thing. You just need to, change your thoughts. You just need to do like the 7-second switch, and then it's going to, and it takes 7 seconds, and you're just like, okay, now I'm changing it. Now and you have to, and you just repeat, 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 repeat. And so it's one of those things that's not adding to your plate. It's
Mhm.
giving you more resilience. And once we start, I just started seeing over and over again, okay, once like just the value, just how much it changes people's like thought patterns, and therefore then they can get out of where they are, as far because I do find, and I don't know whether you see this, but I do see that if you're doing all of these things, so,
Mhm.
if you're working on your hormones and
Yeah.
you're getting the nutrients and you're trying to detox your body, if you're giving it the wrong signals, you're really not able to get out. It's circular, and you might feel better you do see a lot of the people, like, I mean, sometimes people have been to 7 people before they get to me, and it's like, okay, they've made the effort, they've seen all the, and sometimes you feel better for a period, and then, "Oh, now I'm back in. Okay, now I might feel better," or you just don't, or they're not making progress because they're still signaling, they're giving the same signals, and they're not doing things in the right order.
Okay, that's really interesting. So then let's talk about your 7-second switch, because you said it there, and I think this is sort of a like, okay, for I'm the woman listening, and I'm having, like, I'm even recognizing, or maybe I'm not even recognizing that I'm having this like woof, almost overwhelming anxiety already, or that I've shifted into that fight or flight part of my body. But now you're telling us it's impacting our entire health. It's keeping us from kind of getting to the health that we want. So what is this 7-second switch? Like, yeah, what is it? How do we
Let's
do
do
it?
it.
Yeah. Walk us
Okay,
through it.
so let's do it. So, okay, so everybody, I want you to so I'm gonna have you do it, but I'm gonna have the listeners do it too. So, okay, so we're gonna go first. I want you to think of the harshest thing you say to yourself. So we're gonna go deep here because you're gonna maybe surface, and maybe I'm gonna give you an example. So let's say you're like, okay, I'm always late. Like, I'm always late to drop my kids off. Okay, why does that matter? So then you dig deeper and you're like, "Oh, because I'm letting the people that I care about down.
Mhm.
Why does that matter? I'm not good enough for love." Okay, that's it. Usually an underlying, we want the deep thought. Like, there's usually an underlying deep thought like within the thoughts that we have. So we want to first drill down, what's that? It might be, a lot of ones I see is like, I'm not good enough,
Yeah.
I'm broken, I'm never gonna heal, nothing ever works for me. So we want to find that thought. And then you want to take the thought and you want to feel it in your body. So say that thought to yourself right now, and then feel where it sits. Like, where do you feel the thought? So you might feel, like, okay, you might feel like a tightness in your stomach. Maybe you feel heaviness on your shoulders. Maybe you feel like behind the eyes or the back, the head is heavy. So it's like, okay, you want to like shut your eyes when you're doing this, and feel that thought. And then you're going to ask yourself, do I 100% know that that's true? And this is key because you don't. So, can you prove like 100% that that's true? And you can't, because it actually isn't true. It's just that neural pathway that you've been firing so long that now you believe it. So, most of us have been firing these thoughts so long that they feel true. They feel like, oh, that's reality, but it's not reality. So you recognize this is actually just a thought. This isn't real. This is just what I've been thinking. I mean, you can do it really fast when you're just doing it, but,
Huh.
we're talking through it. So then, you say, okay, is it 100% true? And then I want you to remove the thought. So you're going to physically remove it. So you either like pull it out of where you're feeling it in your body, you pull it out of your stomach, you pull it out of your head, you like literally like what, like, kind of cut it off from your body. You can swipe it out of your mind, like
Mhm.
remove the thought from you, and actually getting the sensation of physically pulling it out is good because it's like a somatic release for it.
Yeah.
So you remove the thought from your body and then you replace it with a new thought. So you want to say something that you can believe,
Mhm.
something that's not, dramatic of like, okay, it's life changing, but it's like, I am okay right now. Or I am healing or I am good enough. And you put that thought, you replace it. So you're filling that space where you remove the thought, you replace it with the new thought. And then you put one hand on your belly and then you do a deep belly breath. And so you inhale and then you exhale longer than you inhaled to activate the vagus nerve. So we're doing a nervous system reset there too. So basically then you should, when you're doing all those steps, you feel like, you feel a shift because now you've taken that thought, you've, really proven that it's not true. You've removed it, you've replaced it, and you've reset your nervous system. So you feel like the shift, or at least you feel like you should feel like, I'm okay right now in this moment, like right here, right now. Are you okay? But the problem is, is that your mind it likes that highway, remember? So
That
it's
what we
gonna
know.
yeah, so like at 30 seconds, it's gonna go right back and it's like, "But wait," and it's gonna say, like, go right back to that thought because it's like, okay, that's the thought that's been there, and it's gonna question like, "Oh, wait, but wait, that's the real truth." And so you just have to keep doing it. It's not like magic to do it once, but the where the magic happens is in the repetition of doing it over and over and over, like, just when that thought comes in, you just do it. And, like as I said, you get used to it and it's just like you change it, you change it, you change it. And then we know that physiologically, your brain's going to start to change. You're going to get the new neural pathway. And then that thought that's been like so controlling your life for a long time
Mm.
starts to lose its power and you start to feel like the shift come down. It starts to happen as you do it over and over. And we all have them. I mean, it's life changing to be able to remove some of those weights really that we've been carrying around with us for so many years.
Yeah, for sure. So the trigger point for even for those of us who might even be a little unaware is again that feeling of overwhelm that starts to bring up these kind of darker thoughts. Is that really the trigger, the anxiety or the fight or flight moment? That's sort of our trigger moment.
Well, I think really if you pay attention, how many negative thoughts go through your head every day? I don't even think you need to go there.
So we don't need to wait
I think
for a moment when we're feeling overwhelmed. We can do this kind of even proactive.
I recognize the shift in my body because I've been practicing it for so long. So like I can get like where it's like, "Ugh, what just happened?" I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I just got that email." Or like, "Oh, I just saw that like something came up or somebody just said that to me." Like now because I've been doing it so long I can feel the shift. Like I can recognize that I'm having that body shift of like,
Yeah.
"Ooh," and then I can actually go back because to the thought, like, what was what just happened? And then I can be like, "Oh, that was what just happened." I thought, and realize like, "Okay, I just got an email that, I didn't like or a response of, something like that." Because
Mhm.
but that's just be like with years of doing it. So start the like I'm kind of flipping it around once you've done it so far. It's so long you can actually feel that you recognize the shift in your body. But anytime that any one of the, I mean, yes, start there, but anytime any one of those things come up, something that you feel like, okay, I'm having the any type of negative thought. I mean, we're so mean to ourselves when we all day long, okay, what is the thoughts that come up for you? So I think that's the first step. Start, take a day, and just start thinking like, watch what goes through your mind and how often you have blaming thoughts or not good enough thoughts or not well enough thoughts or anything that comes up. What are those thoughts? And that's a good thing to start thinking, okay, what are the thoughts I'm having and how are these actually affecting my health?
Do you feel like all people are mean to themselves? Like all genders, all like it doesn't matter. You think people are, or do you think that like are women more mean to
I
themselves than
think
men?
I mean, I personally think women are more mean to themselves than men, but
Mm.
I mean, I think it is. And I was just like having a conversation with someone about the overwhelm that women have. And I think like we have so much on our plates. The world has changed for women and which is wonderful. We can all do amazing things and we should be able to. But the thing is we didn't take any of our other jobs away, right? So now we have we have careers which is they're amazing and but then we also our mothers often, and we have that job, and then we're the house manager because we still run our house, and like you're saying, getting the teacher gifts and the schedules and all. So there's just like so much that we set ourselves to such a high standard
Yeah.
that in some ways it's like then we're not meeting the standard that we have to keep all the time, which creates more of that negative self-talk
Yeah.
and criticism too.
It should be motivating enough for us to understand that science and research that you shared with us points to the fact that this will help us heal faster and get where we wanna go. But I know, I can hear some of my clients, I even hear it myself, like, I don't have time to do that. Like,
I know.
the 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 stillness or even the 7 seconds, even we, call it 7 seconds, just for some reason, we have a lot of pushback on what doesn't feel maybe it doesn't feel productive, maybe it doesn't have that tangible outcome. Do you have can you give an example of a client, and I'm sure you have many, but where, a female client who was suffering with some of our common symptoms that we're having that did put this into practice and, like, what besides yourself, I guess, and what
Yeah,
happened?
this is unsexy, right?
Yes.
So the supplement is sexy, the
Workout.
testing is sexy, the workout is sexy. Like, okay, I can do so we live in a culture where, okay, I get that we live in a medical system that's like, okay, I have something, I get a drug for it.
Yeah.
That's how our minds are set up. So it's like that we don't necessarily want to take drugs now, but do we just replace that with a supplement? Like, okay, I have this, now I'm gonna do my magnesium or I'm gonna do my Vitex or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how our minds are set up. And then we all, what can we do for it? So this is going back to the beginning and saying, so sometimes like it's like, okay, I know you don't want to do this, but this is what's going to be bigger game changer than that, than that thing.
Yeah.
And so but yeah, no. So like one of the clients I use, we'll call her Sarah. I know don't use real names, but she came to me and she was one of the clients that I was saying, kind of when I was first putting this in practice, and she came in and she'd had 6 years of hormonal issues, bloating, digestive issues, exhaustion, and she'd been to like several other practitioners. So for her, it was funny because she came in her first appointment to me and was like, nothing ever works, and that's actually not uncommon. Like I do hear, it's like, okay, you come in, but you've been to so many other people. You're like, oh, I don't even know why I'm here. Nothing's going to work for me. So we started with she was one of the first people I started with this. I was like, we're not doing anything else. Like, I don't want you to do I've got her to buy in to like, no testing, no supplements, I'm not going to do anything else with you until we work on this. And within a few weeks, she messaged me and she was like, I can't even believe it. I'm
Mm.
starting to see change. And that's like with nothing. And that's where it's like, she was one of the ones that like was one of like the first people that I used it with. So I remember that because I was like, I'm going to try this. I also see people that just things won't move. I do work with people who have sometimes people are by the time they get to me, they have been to a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
They are very, sometimes people are very sensitive, very reactive, very have a lot of issues that are going on they're struggling with. And there are definitely many people that just won't they wonder, I can't make progress, or they won't make progress. I'm like, you have to work on this too.
Yeah.
Like you really can't afford to ignore it
Yeah.
because if you really want to feel your best and have your body sending the right signals, the right functions, it's just not something that you can ignore. And so I think it is just the part of I it's you don't like again, not a 20-minute routine, but you just have to get in the pattern and then you just you can do it like this. It just like it's not like I'm walking through it with you in like slow motion
Yeah.
and thinking through it, but like it's just like, okay, what is that? Is that true? You just can do it and process that thought and move on.
Yeah. So dig into, make sure it's the real thought, ask, what's beneath that
Oh, you'll know.
thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first time you have to do it, the first time you're like, "Okay, I have to really figure out what that true thought is." But once you kinda get used to it, you kind of can dig into that, like,
Like,
"What
"Oh, that's this again."
my
Yeah.
gut feeling?" I mean, for a lot of us come back to the same cores, right? Like the same core thing of, what are those things underlying
Yeah,
that
that are our common, like,
common.
deep pains kinda thing. So we close our eyes, we feel it in our body, and then we, physically remove it,
First, you
and
question it.
you question it. Okay.
Have to make yeah, and that's important because that's showing your mind that, is it true? Like, is it 100% true? Because most of the time it's not true. Like, well, 99.9% of the time it's not true. So, it's something that it's like, okay, this is just your thought around it. It's actually not the truth. So, it's important to know, like, show yourself basically that this isn't true, and then you remove it,
Okay.
and then you replace it, and then you do nervous system reset.
And then the deep breath, deep belly
Mhm.
breath. Okay, I'm writing this down. Question it, is it 100% true? Feel it in your body, remove it, replace it with something you can believe, and then the nervous system reset with the deep belly breath.
Yep, you use the
Wonderful.
find the thought, then you feel it, then you question it,
Okay.
then you remove it, replace it, and
Okay. Thank you. Find it. Got it.
yes.
I love.
There is purpose to the I know it's like, okay, you I mean, if you mess up the order, it's fine, but there's purpose to the why we do it that way. But it's just it's really impactful, and it gives you finally can not take responsibility and have some relief also. Like, beyond the physiology of it, it's also, really being able to these are you're carrying around these negative thoughts, and we all, and unfortunately, um, we haven't really even talked about the what we put on ourselves as women as far as, like, the image pressure of, what our ideal body has to look like and is supposed to be, and I mean, there's so many people that are living with those negative thoughts, and there well, I mean, one of the, like, places I guess that we kind of it's a totally different line, but we're talking about digestion, but again, if you're having negative thoughts around your weight and you're actually again stimulating the nervous system to create more cortisol, which is designed to save your body and put weight around your organ in your belly. So you're actually doing like the opposite of what our body needs to do physiologically
Yeah.
by all the pressure that we put on there too.
It's like ass backwards. Excuse the language.
Right?
That's what it feels like, isn't it? It's so confusing.
And we're gonna and like people are starving themselves and working out a ton and doing all this stuff, and meanwhile thinking, "I'm not how I should be. I'm not how I should be. I'm not how I'm not doing enough. I'm not." I don't know whether you see that. I do every day.
Oh, yeah. It's
Every
so
day.
heartbreaking, isn't it?
Mhm. It is. It is, and it's just like, okay, all the things, and you're in that's it's heartbreaking because people are working so hard.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, I'm working so hard and I'm not getting any results, and I've been working so hard for years, and it's like, wait, okay, we're looking at it through the wrong
It's
lens.
the wrong lens. Yeah, it's just the wrong perspective.
Mhm.
I know you also teach the Solara Method. Did I say that correctly?
Yes,
As a way to apply, is it this work then as well? Like,
well, so that's sort of so what we do, this is the method in which the way I work with people and the way, so what I have found over years and years of practice and working with close to 1,000 people is that one of the things that matters as much as what you do is the order you do it. And so
mhm.
that's again, like I get so many people that come to me from working with other people and they're like, yeah, I did this gut healing program and I felt worse, or I did a detox and I felt worse, or, where they're well meaning people that they're seeing. But when you don't look at someone in the right and work in the right order, you actually can make things worse. So
What is that
we
order?
work yes, so we work on first again, we're calming the nervous
Mhm.
system. So we want to know, like, base foundation, we're giving our body the right signals. So we have to get our body out of survival mode. And then we need to engage digestion because if we can't digest and absorb the food that we're eating, we again can eat the perfect diet, but
Yeah.
we're not actually getting the benefit. So probably 90% of your listeners wanna start with hormones.
Yeah. I know.
Hormones are
Meanwhile,
great,
they're like
right?
the end, right?
Everyone wants to start with hormones, and
Yeah.
important, we're getting there, but
Yeah.
if we don't building blocks and we're, then we're how okay, were we able to really get the right balance that we want to? So then we load nutrients because we need to load the nutrients in order to create the building blocks, like, for the hormones and for everything else. So once we digest and absorb, we load nutrients, and then we actually make sure we liberate the elimination pathways. 'Cause if again, like, constipation's a huge problem again, with many women, and so if we don't liberate elimination pathways, like, if you're not going to the bathroom, if you're not sweating, a lot of the things that we're doing, we're not able to actually like, let's use estrogen, so if you're, again, working on metabolism of estrogen or you're giving estrogen, you're like, taking hormone replacement therapy, all of these things, but you're not able to go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
or you're not eliminating the estrogen the way that you should be. We need to use it and lose it with estrogen. So we could just have, build up from there. So we need to eliminate the elimination pathways.
That mhm.
And then we need to yield metabolism. So, how are we metabolizing? Are we getting enough protein? Are we actually able to what is our blood sugar balance? Like, are
Mhm.
we actually metabolizing well, making sure? And then we make sure the hormones are balanced. And
Yeah.
not that you can't, work on, like, there can be, like, simultaneously the work, but we need to make sure that we have these foundations.
Yeah.
So then we work on balancing hormones, making sure all the hormones are stabilized, and then and only then do we amplify detoxification capacity.
Yeah.
Because if we do, detox is a flashy word
Yes.
in these days, and there's a lot of programs out there that just
Yeah.
run people through detox. But if you're doing that and you don't have all of these foundations in, then you're often worse off a lot of
Yeah.
times. You're not necessarily getting the result you want from doing those, deeper
Yeah.
detoxes.
Yeah, it can certainly drive anxiety. Like it's one thing to push detox, it's another to be able to make sure it's actually eliminating out of the body.
Yep.
And so I love that you give this order because and it's like it is sort of a cascade-ish effect, isn't it? Where, the nervous system, often constipation is connected to
Yeah.
a very wound up nervous system. So it's almost like we might not even need to deal with
You
the
don't.
lower steps if we can
But
handle.
that's why we start, you're like, yeah, if you're upstream, if you're starting and then it just flows down and you're able to get everything in place, it's so much easier to do the other steps because they're already working with. So you're not going against, you're working with the current instead of against the current to get all the things that we need to get in order.
Yeah. And this system that you taught us of the 7-second switch, this is kind of one of our biggest power moves in this very first step of the nervous system.
Exactly. So that's the tool. So in my book, The 7-Second Switch, we give you the tool, and then I take you through the whole cascade method. So I take you through the whole Solara method. So it is we're saying, okay, here I do a lot of explaining around like what is neurodigestion, give you the 7-second switch tool so you can understand why this actually works in the physiology behind it. So it's just kind of explaining that, and then we go through the Solar method, and I give you actually what you can do right now every day. So what are the tools that we can use in these steps in the right order, and then there's actually a plan for you to actually put it into your life. So it's setting, anyone that reads it can actually have the method on their own and the steps that they need to do in order to start seeing results.
I love this, and asking for a friend with is this what you teach at practitioners? It's the Solera method, it's the is it yeah, what
Yeah.
do you train other practitioners in?
Yeah, so I founded the Women's Functional Health Institute, and so yes, now it's a very in-depth training. So I'm certifying women's functional health coaches. So we have 12 modules, and over 150 lessons
Oh,
in that method. And then we also do business training within that. So you can actually, one of the things that I found when I was going through certification programs, so this program is set up. I do teach the Solara Method, and I set it up in order for you to actually be able to help and work with that woman sitting across from you. So whenever I did actually different, like several different, so because that's like who I am, I have to like, oh, I have to do several different certifications. That's like, and to do it. You don't. If you do mine, you'll only need one, because what I found the problem was that there was a lot of theory. So there's a lot of, okay, there's just like, here's the studies, here's the theory. That's great. But when I'm sitting across from a woman and I'm working with her, like what do we need to do to actually make transformation? Like my goal is always like, what is the transformation that you need to make if I'm working with you?
yeah.
And so it's saying, okay, like what are all the things? And then what do we need to do in the right, again, with the Solara Method, with the right order?
Yeah.
And I also have a behind the scenes radiant method too, which is more of connecting the dots within the person. And that's a little bit more of like a clinical method
Right.
with how we work, internally with someone in their body,
Yeah.
and kind of layers of healing there. How it's more of how we're looking at it. But,
Mm.
as far as the order, that someone can do, it's like, okay, what is the order we need to do? And then what's all the in-depth information? And then if you're also like in the certification, I do, like I said, have business like done. I have done for you business materials and everything, because I want you to actually be able to start, seeing people making a difference in the world. That's like my mission is, yeah, and you to be able to get out there and do, because I know too many people that do a certifications
Yeah.
and then
Don't
when
implement.
don't implement, because they don't know, one, what to do when you're working with someone, and then two, how to actually implement the business part of it too. So yes, yeah, that it's my, you can tell I'm passionate.
Yeah.
He's passionate about it.
No, and it's beautiful the way you've explained it. It makes so much sense. And I know, like, for the women listening, I think, like you said, there's no shortage of productivity in women. Like,
No.
so it's
Mhm.
if we can have a high impact tool. So you put the 7-second switch. You've written a book about it. How do women get when can they get the book? How can they get the book? Like, how can they learn more about your work?
Yes, so the book is at sevensecondswitch.com. It's launching October of 2026, so I'm so excited. And you can go to sevensecondswitch.com, or you can go to megmill.com. So Meg Mill, it's just MEGMILL.com. That's all of that's my hub where I have
Ah,
I have everything. So I'll have the book over there, and I will also have the Women's Functional Health Institute if you want to learn more about that. I'm also I have a podcast called A Little Bit Healthier,
yeah.
and I also am over on Instagram at it's just Dr. Meg, DrMegMill.
That's amazing. I'm gonna make sure all of those links are in the show notes. We'll have to have you back on when the book goes live, because I'm very excited to read it for sure. Will you do an audio version as well, or
I
will
plan on it, right? And there's a word. I had to get the written out then, when I thought, okay, yeah, so us women, we're like calm your nervous system, but you can multitask too, right? And you can, as long as you're zen while you're multitasking.
Yeah, exactly. Then it makes it acceptable.
Yeah.
This has been amazing, Meg. Thank you so much for your time, for what you do, how you help women and practitioners in such a big way, and for walking us through, your methods and your tools. Because for me, it makes so much sense, and I'm excited to learn more and be able to spread that for you around.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you, sisters. Now I think you have a very powerful tool and such a great blueprint, I think, to go out, be more in your life and not just less on a scale. Go check out Meg, and we will catch you in the next episode.
If you're 35 plus and ready to stop guessing, start understanding your hormones, and feel your absolute best, hit subscribe. That's what we do here.